My Thursday subscriber stream here in Drawville. International Master William Pascal, residing in Zombieland, Massachusetts. You know, we talk about Woody Harrelson being at the World Championship in London for the opening ceremony, but he should have been here, where I live, in Zombieland. Great movie for Woody. But we are enjoying game analysis today, guys. Submitting games. The subscribers can submit games, if they have not already, to my account, Sparklehorse, on lichess.org. It is Thanksgiving Thursday, an American holiday and a great tradition here. And sadly, I did not go to the liquor store to buy my Thursday Thanksgiving beer. So I do not have a beer, which I like to drink on our evening streams. As a substitute, I don't know if anyone here watches television in the United States, but I was joking with Acerbade before. Captain, there is a commercial. there is an American commercial going on now for Captain. We have a little rum from the Captain, so that's going to be our beverage, our bonus beverage for the week. Mr. Coffee, would you like some Captain with your coffee? We've got ice, yig, celebration here for Thanksgiving. A little rum with ice. Captain. The Pondas are here. They fully approve of drinking Captain Morgan on the stream. They prefer bamboo liqueur, but hello. We don't have any bamboo liqueur in the house, so we're gonna have to settle for this little Captain in lieu of beer, because I thought really that liquor stores would be open, but since I live in Zombieland, they're afraid the zombies will be coming out. It gets dark around 4:30. We have to be careful. The zombies might be coming out to get us. So, gotta close everything by like 1 o'clock here in Massachusetts. So, blue laws and whatnot. I don't know. Everyone is like hiding from the zombies on Thanksgiving. No beer for me. It's all right. We've got coffee. We've got a little bit of Captain. The rumor is that 2 of my students are going to the National Chess Congress this weekend in Philadelphia, and I'm very, very jealous that I can't be there. It's sad that I can't be there to play. I wanted to play. That's a tournament I used to live close to when I was a resident in New Jersey, and when I grew up playing chess in New Jersey, Philadelphia area. So good luck to the players. Mr. Coffee, are you playing at the National Chess Congress? Move 11 is rumored to be playing. So I don't know if he'll be on the stream today, but Move 11 hopefully will play National Chess Congress. Mr. Coffee's probably going to play. And I'm not, unfortunately. I don't know when I'm going to be playing another tournament game. It might be a while for me. Turkey Farm, Percy Hepworth, JCS. Nils, thanks for joining me here. Where am I on the list, Nils? I don't know, Nils. That depends on how many beers you've had so far. Maybe it totally depends on how many beers you've had. Maybe you can let me know, and I can find where you are in the list. Actually, let's see, Nils. Well, we didn't get many submissions today, so Nils, you're number 4 on the list, which is pretty good. So I would say half an hour to 45 minutes. We'll be there. Got to go to university tomorrow. All right. You should go to Naka's stream for a minute. He's doing Puzzle Rush. It's absolute madness. I was thinking of streaming some World of Warcraft or something as a joke. All right. What happened? Something fell on the floor. Anyway, guys, cheers. Happy Thanksgiving to those Americans and I guess Canadians out there who celebrate Thanksgiving. Yeah, Captain. But I was not aware that, I never actually, it's very odd. I've never been here in Massachusetts, where I am located right now, southeast Massachusetts, for Thanksgiving almost. I was in Boston sometimes, and sometimes in Hungary the last 15 years, but In Zombie Land, there are no liquor stores open after 12 o'clock, I guess. It's strange. But anyway, we're going to celebrate without beer today. Any game challenges from subs? Nefrov, I might make a special exception for you. No turkeys. The turkeys are down the street somewhere. Turkey farm. It's official. I hate food. I had a little Thanksgiving lunch with my mom today, who's in a rehabilitation center. It was funny. It was interesting. I can't say it's really, Well, anyway, it was just good to see my mom. I don't think I had Thanksgiving with my mom in like 15 years, so it was kind of fun. But anyways, we are going to get started. I'm sorry, but I was just kind of getting focused here. So let's get started. Asterbait made a small bit donation. We're going to get started with game analysis. I've got Asterbait first, actually. Where is Asterbait? There he is. Wait, Asterbait, is this it? 2 hours ago? Those times aren't right. That's weird. Here it is. Thursday commentary stream submission. What's up, Dim? Good to see you guys. Clash Kid not here today, I think. Maybe he'll show up. Dim, Asterbait, Bits Leaders for the week. Guys, there's like a promotion. I'm not trying to do this, just because. But to let you know, if you do buy bits, like there's a promotion. There's like a bit discount going on or something like that. You can get extra bits. Like they'll give you like 200 extra to give to a friend or something. So if you're going to buy bits anyway, it's probably a good time to buy them. There's some kind of deal. Just so you know. This is Asterbait. It's rapid chess. Let's see. So Asterbait playing his Owen defense. What's up, guys? E4, B6, F4. Okay. Well, F4 is not a very direct move. You could probably play just about anything here with black. E5. E5 would be B6 against the... I never considered that. You could play B6 against the King's Gambit. That's really weird. Seeing this for the first time, this is a crazy suggestion, just out of curiosity. Has anybody ever played this? B6 against the King's Gambit. Why not, But let's see. So bishop B7, E5. Okay. Guys, thanks for subscribing to my stream. This is my way of saying thank you to the subscribers, doing a stream, really like specifically for the subscribers. Testosterone just submitted a game. So otherwise known as Turkey Farm. We've got to really respect Testosterone on Turkey Day. How many bits will get me second? How many bits will get you second? How many have you donated this week? You mean 801 total? Well, if we're going by... Yeah, he hasn't donated any already. So if we're going by that, yeah, 801 would make you second. Are you talking about second game? You're talking about, Nils, how many bits will get you to be the second game? Like, priority? Yeah, I could slip you up in the list a little bit. I can be bribed. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the American way. That's why we don't, we don't punish people for murdering journalists. The important thing is money, right? Money is more important than human lives. Okay, D4. Percy Hepworth, what's up? Yeah, I think that maybe Nils meant how many. Well, I guess if you donate something solid like 500, and I'll kick you up to next in the list. It's no problem because actually we don't have quite as many as usual, and it may be a little lighter because of the holiday today. So I don't think it's gonna cost anybody from getting their game if I move Nils up. He's tired. He's got university tomorrow. He's gonna donate 1 million, 1 million bits. Absolutely. We could go with 100,000. 100,000 is enough to ask. All right, Nils, 750. He's getting priority. It's like priority boarding at the airline. Okay, so Asterbait plays interesting approach here. Okay, let's see, e5. I don't like e5. It's weird. It's like overextending. It's not developing. It may not be that bad, but it reminds me of my friend Pop Gellert. Okay, Gellert is a creative player. He played Yuri Lapshin, and Lapshin was white, and the game was like b4, and Pop Gellert played e5, and Lapshin played bishop b2, and Gellert played e4, and he totally freaked out Lapshin. Like, I guess it was probably the first time when this was ever played. I don't know, but that's just funny, to play e4. Different though, it's actually a little different. Just take him out of book. But anyways, let's take a look at Acerbate's game. So e5, g6. I don't like g6. I think that you ought to attack his center. If we're speaking of this, really purist kind of approach here, attack the center. There could be some complications because d6 weakens the white square quite a bit. My inclination is to play d6. Alex, what's up? Anyway, Nils, thank you for the 750 bits. I asked for 500. He donated 750. I mean, it's awesome. Thank you so much. But Nils has been very supportive of the stream. So d6 attacking the center is one approach here. Computer like c5 going Sicilian style. g6 isn't bad. It isn't bad. Very hyper modern. You're going to need to attack his center at some point, though. Here, you're going to need to set up d6 down the line. You're going to have to fight against that strong center. I mean, unless you're intending Acerbate to try to like build a Gurgenidze Caro-Kann or something with d5 blocking your bishop on b7, I think you got to thematically fight against the center. Wow. That is totally mental. Just because you can, Someone asks you, why would you play this move? Someone asks you, why would you play this move? And it's like, just because I can. Yeah, that's interesting. Not good, but really creative. I'll give you credit. He's building a wall of bishops to counter the wall of pawns. Acerbate, that's a crazy move, man. It's a crazy move. You're just kind of scoping out the space out there on e4. No, not a good move. You're moving the same piece twice. Your bishop in an exposed position. This is a very strong piece. But listen, Acerbate, your bishops are long-distance pieces. They're not meant to go up front. They're not meant for guerrilla warfare. Use the bishops wisely from a distance. This is a bad move. It's an amazing creative idea. I'll give you credit for that. You get 9 points for creativity, and like 1 point for... Please turn the engine off. Okay. Usually it's been pretty good. What's my setting here? Oh, because I got 2 lines on. Sorry, Nils. It's usually not so bad if we have 1 line on, but I'll turn it off for now. You'll notice that it will be okay as long as I have just 1 line turned on. That's basically... Sometimes I turn on 2 lines when I'm doing a lesson or something to check a variation. We're doing some endgame analysis this week, and I did turn it up to two lines. It should be okay when we get it down to 1 line. Sorry, guys, for that. Thanks for letting me know, though. Down on 1 line, it should be alright. So bishop e4 is crazy. Knight f3, bishop g7, bishop d3. This piece shouldn't be exchanged off for Acerbate. It's not helping him to trade it off. The bishop is an archer. Exactly, Alex. Exactly. Exactly. Nils donated 100 bits to get the message through, but he also got the 2nd place in bits donations. Bishop d3 now. He played d5. Okay. I think that's reasonable under the circumstances. And it almost looks like a Gurgenidze Caro-Kann now. There's a method to this madness. Can white take en passant here and try to win a pawn? Like ed. Bishop takes d3. Wow. Pawn takes c7. It looks like white's just winning a pawn in this line. Yeah, this looks pretty solid, Acerbate, so... It was a really inspired attempt, man. d5. But maybe, like, yeah. Well, it's safer than f5. The guy takes... Yeah, okay. This isn't so clear now. Takes, and c3. Dropping a piece. Probably not a good idea. the c3. It was too deep for me. We're expecting knight to g5. Yeah, he was intending to play knight g5, c3, queen b3. He just forgot his move order. Basically dropped a knight now. Or else he just didn't realize that Astrobate can defend his rook. Basically just dropping a piece. Okay, this is crazy. Astrobate, you can just take this knight here for free. You can take the knight for free, and you can play c6 and just laugh at white and say, haha, I'm up a piece, you know. So not good. Let's see what happens, what develops here. He doesn't take the piece. Then the guy's like, oh my god, I hung my knight. Here, f5. Well, if white doesn't know about the en passant rule, it's absolutely good. And even if he does know about the en passant rule, it may not be that bad. So f5 best move, takes. Knight takes. It's going to be hard to hold on to this pawn, but maybe we can. Oh no. I mean, I think that the key move here is queen d5, obviously. If you don't have that, this actually works for white. You would skewer your knights with queen f3. So it's like literally the combination almost works. And he's just like, oh no, I forgot about queen d5. Queen f3, queen d5 just flat out wins the piece. Entertaining, Astrobate, entertaining. But white was... Are you sure white wasn't like a computer on like level 1? Stockfish level 1? It's playing like Stockfish level 1. Castles, queen f3. Mr. Coffee, what do you think? You're an expert on like handicap computer levels. Is white using like Stockfish level 1? Queen d5, that's what it feels like. c4. Bishop takes d4 check here. Black is not using handicap levels. Black is playing full on. Stockfish loves the square. The f5 square. Good try, g4. Uh-oh. So now what do we do? Do we have something here? Well, I mean, we're up several pieces, so it's not a problem really, but... Alright, knight f2, and he doesn't take. That's definitely suspicious. Level 1, it feels like level 1 to me. He just dropped everything. Queen h1 check. Unfortunately, there's no check on the king on g3. You got knight e4. Yeah, that's disappointing. Astrobate misses knight e4 check here. That's really, really strong. Sorry, bud. Now it's going to be a grind them down. Probably I take on b2 and win the rook on a1. It doesn't last long from here. Alright, this was kind of a mismatch. I don't know, Astrobate. This guy, he's playing handicap level. Come on, h5 maybe? Okay, rook g5 is pretty good. There's a couple ways to stop knight f4. Bishop e5 and bishop d2. So if you played h5, would that help? Would that be better? I wonder. Alright, game over. Put him out of his misery. Okay, that was good, but I don't think it was a good test for you, Astrobate. It was too lopsided, that game. Okay, we got another game submission from... No, that was already in there. Testosterone. Okay. What's up, guys? Nice outfit, Master. Reminds me of Jedi Master. I think it looks like a prison shirt. I picked this up. You know how much I paid for this shirt? Does anybody want to guess? Any takers? It's a good shirt. It's like Bass Outlet. Does anybody want to guess how much I paid for my shirt? Mr. Coffee, that's too much, man. I think it was like $3. Yeah. Visiting Nurses Association thrift store. I took my mom there, and she likes to go there, and I just saw the shirt. I was like, wow, it's like a Bass Outlet shirt. It had probably been worn like once. Almost everything there was like just crap, but you know, once in a while at a kind of like, you know, thrift store, you can find something really good. Anyway, but it looks like a prison work. It looks like a prison work shirt. So let's go back to, yeah, so for 300, I got the share for 300 bits, basically. It is new. It was like never worn. I just got it. It's literally like somebody bought it, never wore it, and then donated it to a thrift store. You can find really good stuff like that. I had friends who used to make money like that. They would do it with books mostly. They would go to thrift stores, buy like brand new books that people donated, and then resell them on eBay for like double the price. You can make a business out of doing that. You know, it's kind of, you might argue it's like somehow immoral or something, but you know, whatever. I mean, if people are going to buy it, why not? So let's go to game 2. This is Blue Eye. Oh no, we're going to do Nils. I'm sorry. Nils donated. He donated to support the stream. Where is Nils? Nils, where's your game, man? There it is. My bad. There it is. Alright, this is Hello, Can You in the Study? Look at the game Chapter 4, Classical Online. War 1978. Oh, Nils, come on, man. Make me an examiner. Make it non-private. Come on, Nils. It's okay, you can do it. It won't take long. Make it either an open study or make me a contributor. Well, Fossafigo just subscribed with Twitch Prime. Dim, thank you for the bit donations. I again, Dim is in second place with 900. I again want to reiterate that there was a message about discounts for bits this week. So if you're going to buy bits, you can get like extra bits and like email them, like 200 extra bits to email to your friends or something. So you might as well. I mean, if you buy bits, it's a good time to do it, I guess, for Black Friday. The day after Thanksgiving in the United States, if you're a European, you don't know this necessarily. This is the beginning of the Christmas shopping season in the United States. The holiday, quote-unquote, shopping season starts the day after Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow. So they're doing it in honor of that. Fossafigo, thank you for subscribing. Captain. Are they still showing that commercial? Haven't seen it lately. Mr. Coffee's in the house. Mr. Coffee's going to be playing at a tournament that I used to play in a lot. We got Mr. Coffee. Nils invited me to Serious Game. Alright. Number 4. It's coming in Europe too. Yeah, I guess so. They still call it Black Friday. Actually, in Budapest, yeah. The shopping malls and stuff. It's funny because people don't even understand what is Black Friday. It has no meaning because there's no Thanksgiving is on Thursday in Europe. It doesn't even make any sense. But exactly, it's catching on in Europe, though there's no reason for it because you don't even have Thanksgiving. All right, so Nils is 50. Do you have access? We have access. This is Classical Online 15 plus 15, born 1978. Nils. That emote looks like me. Plus 30 kilo. Oh. Plus 30 kilo. That one, the one of me, my emote. I'm not that fat. 30 kilos is a lot, man. Alright. So, what do we got here? Nils is playing black. The Pirates defense. Okay, knight c3 is the critical test of the Pirates, and black played e5. So, you've now transposed to a sort of Philidor. The endgame is nothing. This really should be nothing. On the other hand, Nils, if you intend on playing this against anyone who's lower rated, I would be very cautious about doing that, because I know that there's a guy, right? Am I crazy on this? Was it George Hickel, the Grandmaster from Germany? Wrote a book recently on the Philidor and recommends, or maybe he wrote a book on d6, not necessarily the Philidor, but Hickel is a guy who plays always like g3, g6, kind of like David Norwood. He was 2600, extremely strong Grandmaster. He also does like analysis on cruises for New in Chess. They have like Caribbean cruises, chess cruises, and this guy Hickel, he's got a gig like being the grandmaster in residence on a cruise. That's a pretty good deal. I wouldn't mind doing that myself, but Hickel recommends this like variations like where you're playing d6 like this. One word of caution, like how are you going to beat like a weak player who plays pawn takes pawn here? I mean, it's not going to be easy. So I would reserve this really for equal to higher rated opponents with black probably, because the weak guys are going to do this, and you're going to be like basically playing an almost unwinnable endgame here. I mean, if they're weak enough, yeah, you can win any position, but here basically this is like, you know, white can be playing for a draw. Queen takes, king takes, and ironically, Niels's opponent, who's rated 1500, what does that mean? I don't know. He plays like a very sharp move now, F. Well, I mean, the problem is, Percy Hepworth, you've got a situation where it's not just the queens are off the board, but it's also a symmetrical pawn structure. It's not so much the fact the queens are traded, it's the symmetrical pawn structure that I don't like. There's two reasons why it's very high high percentage draws. So you can see for yourself. I mean, the draw percentage is like between 50 and 67, you know, across the board here. That's very high. Okay, so f4, sharp move for white, really going for it. Provisional rating blitz of 2000. Okay, so he's actually pretty strong. f4. Okay, bishop d6 looks solid. Niels, do you have the book by George Hickel, by the way, on d6? Is it just a coincidence, or is this something that you got from a different source? I mean, this has been known for years. I mean, there have been other books over the years on d6, like a universe repertoire. Camel, you're always late. Early is on time is late, and late is inexcusable. No, I mean, d6 repertoire books have existed like for the last 30 years. But I mean, I guess if you play this, you should probably check out that book because it's pretty new. Okay, bishop d6. Bishop d6 is fine, but it's not like the sharpest move. Obviously, bishop b4 is sharper. You're upping the ante. Instead of defending, you're like counterattacking. So that should be something that you look at as an alternative. It feels more active than bishop d6. Now the next move feels like a mistake for me. You know, when you're early in the opening, it's almost always correct to keep the tension. So something very wrong about white playing f takes e5 here. Improving your bishop, worsening his pawn structure. This doesn't make any sense. F takes e5. Who would play this move? Miladinovich played this. That's surprising. And he lost too. I guess it's not that bad. Let's see. Bishop takes e5. Now what? Miladinovich specialist in like weird openings, like the Veresov and the Chigorin. Okay, bishop takes e5, bishop d2. Is this your game? Yeah. Now bishop e6. So you got to think about your king. The biggest priority here for black is, where the heck am I going to put my king? Is it going back to e8? Or are you going to try to play something like c6, king c7? Have a plan in place, like king e7. Can I do that? That's the most important thing for black here. Some guy played bishop g4, which isn't a move I guess I fully comprehend. I understand that he's stopping castle's queenside. Strikovich played knight e7. It's a guy that I've actually played in Blitz online. Do you remember today I was talking to Spectacular Camel, and Spectacular Camel today telling you about a line in the English opening where someone played bishop f5 against me, and that was actually this guy, Alexa Strikovich, just for random, to make a random note. But bishop d2, bishop e6. So this is a new move, a novelty, if you will. Castle's queenside and king e7. So Niels also has the option now to play king to c8, kind of like a what is it, Berlin defense. You can crawl over there. Let's see what the engine says. The engine likes Nils's move. I mean, it's also possible to play knight on bd7, so you basically have like 3 candidate moves here. 3 candidate moves. I mean, here you're obviously going to be looking at knight d5, although he doesn't seem to have it right away, because we can take with the bishop, take with the knight, and then bishop b4 is impossible. I wouldn't be surprised if king b1 is weird. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this was playable even as like a sort of sacrifice. Let's take a look. Dear engine. It's playable. Knight takes d5, e takes d5, bishop takes d5. So this is kind of scary though, because on this line, what you got to calculate is what happens after bishop b4 check. I mean, it's easy for a computer to say, you know, are you going to walk out with your king in the middle of the board here? Are you sure this is safe? Because I'd be very concerned about this. If this was an over-the-board game, I would spend a long time, Nils, on calculating knight d5, the ramifications of knight d5, because I'm a little skeptical that this is like fully safe for black. So you'd have to absolutely make sure. And again, easy for a computer to say. If you play king c8 here, for example, you're going to have to deal with knight f3, I guess. And then you have to play something like knight to c6 or knight to bd7. Knight to bd7. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5. I think this is fairly solid. A tiny bit better for white. But an alternative to the game. Okay, so king e7 here. I don't like king b1. I mean, king b1 is ridiculous. King b1 is the kind of move you play with the queens on the board in the open Sicilian. Like the opposite of this position. It's like semi-symmetrical. The queens are traded off. White should actually be happy that his king is closer to the center here. So, all right. If anybody's missing like chat stuff, if I'm missing like chats and questions, I'm just really focused on the analysis. So please forgive me. Send me a big bit donation if I'm not paying attention to your chat, and you get my attention quickly. King b1 is stupid. Now knight to c6. So you have other options. You know, taking on c3 is super, obviously high risk, high reward. You know, again we have this like this, but you've got the knight f2. See, and on bishop b4 check you have c5. So this looks pretty good. I mean, what is he going to do? Now he has to play bishop back to e1. That looks like a pretty safe pawn up to me. I think you could go with that, Nils. That's much safer than the other line we just looked at. So that's an option. Nils plays what? Knight c6. He's got computer analysis in here with knight to g4, but I don't know about knight to g4. The knight g4, okay, it's like a one-move threat, but yeah, it feels kind of cheap. Like a cheapo. What's going on here? Knight f3. Bishop takes c3. Bishop takes c3. Is this analysis? c6. And now he can guard against like knight f2. What is this analysis actually? You didn't get that. You gave knight h3. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, but you can play, white can play knight f3. If knight f2, what do we have? Knight takes e5, knight takes h1. And I'm not surprised if white has something. White has something here. Look at this. Trapped knight. I mean, not surprising at all. Anyway, okay, so Nils plays knight c6. I think knight g4 was nothing. You make a developing move. White plays what? Knight f3. I don't think that's a bad move. It makes sense. Now it's time to take a pawn. Bishop takes, knight takes e4, again with the threat of knight f2. Similar to the other variation, you're just more developed. So you don't take the pawn. Yeah, this is a really bad move. Not bad as in like losing the game, but bad as in not winning a pawn, taking, you know, a clear opportunity to get a small advantage. So he backs off with bishop d6. I think Nils is playing like strategically. He's not interested in material. He's trying to keep control of the e5 square, maybe not really commit to anything. It's not that bad. The engine thinks it's better. I don't really necessarily agree. This is a horrible move by white. Totally as bad as, maybe not as bad, but almost as bad as king b1. Absolutely paranoid. What is he afraid of? Like bishop b4? You just had your bishop on e5, still didn't on c3. Is he afraid you're going to play like bishop b4? a3 is horrible. a6 by Nils has... I mean, I would argue that a6 has a little bit more of a point. You know, maybe he can actually come here, take your knight and threaten e5, winning a piece. So I don't like a3, and I don't love a6, but it's still probably better than a3. Has more of a point. Bishop g5 now. Threatening knight d5, and so this king position issue is starting to come into play. h6 is good, and white should not trade his dark square bishop off. He needs the dark square bishop. He has white square pawn, white square pawn, white square pawn, and mainly the e pawn in the center. So his key pawn in the center of the board is on a white square. He lacks control of the dark squares as a result of that. Like d4, f4. He can't afford to give this up. This is a terrible move. Take with the king. And now he plays another passive move. The engine claims after knight d5 that it's equal. I'll turn off the engine again. We don't need it constantly, but I like to check certain positions. Knight d5 check may maintain like close to equality for white. I mean, I guess. Just because you probably have to take, sadly, I mean, I don't know if you could try something crazy. It's just too dangerous. I wouldn't mind, like, you know, playing king g6, but it's a little bit too much, unfortunately. Like king g6, bishop d3. This is a little too much. I mean, maybe that could even work, but you probably have to take, and it looks like it's pretty equal after this. I mean, black is a tiny bit better because white is a little overextended, but it's not enough. So, yep. All right, so he takes. He doesn't play knight d5. He plays this. Now white is starting to have serious questions. His last chance to play knight d5 check. He does it. Can you play? Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Joanna tries. Thanks for the Thanksgiving wishes. I wish the same back to you guys. And for those of you who don't live in the United States or Canada, happy Thanksgiving. You know, you could still celebrate with us, North Americans. So knight d5, you know, if we could only... Basically, if our king was on Sorry, I'll say this again. If our pawn was on g6, and we could retreat our king back to g7 right now, I would say that black has a very significant advantage. But in this position, I mean, you got to consider all kinds of crazy possibilities. Maybe king g5. You know, can we try king g5? h4 check's making me a little bit nervous. So I'm thinking king g6, and he does it. I mean, obviously you can take on d5 and have an equal game, but we're trying for more. So here, bears win. Knight e7 check here. And yeah, we're walking back. We're going to play g6. We're going to play king g7. Good job, Nils. We're getting the position. He's getting the position I talked about exactly. He snapped the pawn on h2. Why not? Free pawn. Free pawn. I'm there. Great game. Great game. Now you've got a positional advantage and a pawn. And this wins. I mean, I think this is simply winning. Not immediately, but down in the future, the distant future, it's a matter of time until black queens a pawn on this side of the board. So that's it. The computer doesn't like c6 for some reason. I don't think it's that bad. Why is it so bad to play c6? Okay. Yeah, I mean, b5 strikes me a little strangely. But Nils wanted to keep control of e5. I guess it's fine. I guess it's fine. Okay. Let's do b5. He goes back. Now we replace our bishop back on e5. He doesn't do it. He could play bishop e5. I guess he realized that white has these nasty tricks with knight f5 check. Whoops. So better off not doing that. Yeah, I mean, here you could even like exchange pieces if you wanted to. I'm not sure about rook e8 though. Maybe Nils, you should start already preparing your future queen with h5. You know, I wouldn't mind that. Anyway, guys, I got to move it along a little bit because this Nils, I don't know. This is winning over here. This is your game. You're gonna queen your extra pawn on the king side. Moving a5 to me, okay, it's probably okay, but it's also possibly giving him some sort of counterplay. And I realize you can play a5, a4, but why bother? You know, let's keep it simple and just win on the strong side with the extra pawn here. I think even rook e8 starts to go down the wrong direction. You know, let's just progress where we have a very clear advantage. Maybe h5, h4, king h6, king g5, h3. I don't know. You're probably just winning on that strong side. So don't confuse the issue. Just focus on the strong side. h5 is a good move. a5 not necessary. g3, a4. Okay, fine. He avoids the one move threat. Rook here, here, and then g5. Okay, g5's alright, but you realize you're going to have to like not allow a knight to come into f5. And you also don't particularly want ops color bishops. So you have to hack that off, which is what he did. Good. It's over. It's over. And now just trade everything and resigns. Computer says bishop takes d3 question mark. Yeah, right. Alright, it's over. GG, man. GG. Okay, good game, Nils. Thank you. So anyway, Asterbait is out. Nils is out. We're on to more games, guys. Thanks for subscribing and joining the stream. Joanna streams as well. I did not know that. Cool. I missed some of the tells. Well, we used to call them tells. In the old days when they were like, you know, command line messages. I had a tell. Internet Chess Club, 1995. I had a tell from Roman Gingiashvili. It was all caps, mostly four-letter words. But, no, seriously. Let's go on to the next game. Alright, what do we got? It's just looking like Antich. Artie. Okay, I can't read my own writing. My handwriting is terrible. I literally failed first grade. I got a D, or maybe I got an E. First grade handwriting. It was really bad. My parents were like upset. They couldn't believe I got a like failing mark in handwriting in first grade. It was that bad. Alright, Artie Fufkin, it just spelled doom for the future, basically. Artie Fufkin, Thursday subscriber game analysis. Tell me it's 2018. I was talking about 1995. That was like just yesterday. Am I dating myself? Birch Beer's identity ever revealed. Oh, Birch Beer, my god. So, Fish Rat Cow is like going back to 1995. Internet chess or something. Birch Beer was like a player. Very few people even know what Birch Beer is. You know, I'm from New Jersey, and I think there were some pizza places that used to like serve Birch Beer as a soft drink back in the day. We're talking in like the late 70s, early 80s, Birch Beer. But all right, let's go on here. Haynal against Artie Fufkin. This is from playchess.com. Imported by Artie Fufkin. Yes, I'm a veteran. A veteran of the armed forces or a veteran of the Internet Chess Club? What are you talking about? E4. This is, okay, Artie playing black. Let me slip this the other way. I like root beer, you know, but root beer is very common. But birch beer, you don't hear that very commonly. You know, I haven't really thought about that since my childhood. I never drank birch beer, but I probably tried it. Alright. So, birch beer it's like some kind of soft drink, basically. I guess it's from like birch trees or something. Who knows? E4, C5, knight E2. They make it with maple syrup in Canada, right? Turkey farm. Knight E2. They take the maple trees and they mix it with birch trees. I don't know. Knight E2. There was a funny variation in the chess encyclopedia. I remembered that was fantastic for me when I was a kid. when I first started studying like Encyclopedia of Chess openings. There was this one game. Speaking of Roman Giashvili again, I think the Roman had a game. I don't remember what color he was, but there was a game that went very interestingly here. Knight f6. This I found to be a fascinating line. Knight f6, e5, and then knight to g4. This would inspire me, you know, many years later. But still, we see there's some modern games from this position. This was like the footnote in the Encyclopedia of Chess openings 30 years ago. I remember. Very interesting. But in most cases, after knight f6, I think white will just play knight on c3, you know. And it's the so-called, like, chameleon, Sicilian, or whatever. Pure birch tree extract. All right, let's go. Knight e2, so e6. Well, obviously, it's important what you play. I think that knight e2... Knight e2, what is this really valuable against? People who... Who are we going to play this against, really? Knight c6 players. I mean, I don't know the specific value of knight e2. I mean, oftentimes you see a lot of people go knight c3, knight c6, and then they play something like knight e2. But to play it on move 2, I'm not sure, you know, it has like great independent significance. We can also look at knight a3, relatively modern relative of knight e2. Why do I... Now we know why I like weird openings so much. Why is that Spectacular Camel? Because I'm weird. Guys, thanks for joining me. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving. Knight e2, e6, c3. Okay, so this is just a weird French now. If you play d5, which I feel like black probably, you know, should. Having played e6, but anyways, okay, knight c6, d4. The next move I have problems with, c takes d4. As I've many times mentioned to people who play the French, I don't, and this is applying to the c3 Sicilian too, so chameleon should be against Najdorf players, yeah. Yeah, cream ale, RC cola, what is that? Cream soda, they call it. Okay. So anyway, this still exists, I'm sure. Knight c6, d4, c takes d4, c takes d4. But why are we playing this exchange of pawns? And how does this exchange of pawns benefit black necessarily? The only case in which this exchange of pawns is going to benefit black is if there's some sort of profit to be derived by going like bishop e4 check. But honestly, that's not a piece we really want to trade. I mean, that's our good bishop if we're putting our pawns on white squares. So you're trading a 5th rank pawn for... You're essentially trading the 5th rank pawn for the 3rd rank pawn. You're giving the guy a good square for his knight at c3. It just doesn't make sense to play c takes d here. So, unless you have a very specific plan, like something weird. I mean, cd, c... What are you going to do? You know, I don't see it. So this is just a bad move. C takes d4, c takes d4, d5. And now e takes d5, which may be argued is also a bad move, theoretically. Doing essentially the same thing, trading a 4th rank pawn for a 3rd rank pawn, helping black develop his bishop on c8. Mutual, if you're going to do me a favor, I'll do you a favor. Okay. ED, ED, and then what? A&W cream soda. Do you know there's an A&W restaurant really close to where I live here at Zombieland? Scary that this thing exists. Strange as it may seem. There is like a drive-in sort of A&W restaurant. Was that, who said that? JCS. There's a sort of drive-in A&W restaurant here in Zombieland. Knight to g3. Yeah, I don't know. Well, he had to put his knight somewhere. Not my favorite square. I think in a vacuum I prefer f4. You guys know I like to play knight h3, knight f4. But yeah, g3, maybe g3, bishop g2 should be considered for white. The problem with g3 is that bishop g4 might or might not be unpleasant. So knight g3, knight f6. This move is beautiful for black. We'd love to get his white square bishop passive, but okay. Can we play bishop d6 or not? The problem is, if you play bishop d6, he can play bishop g5. But you know what? His knight is blocking his bishop from retreating to h4 or g3. So maybe we say here, and if bishop g5, we say, okay, well, that's fine. We're going to play h6. You don't have bishop h4, bishop g3. So maybe we should put our bishop on a better square, not on e7. So you have A&W in Canada. You have that restaurant. Maybe we should blame the Canadians. I don't know. Okay, bishop g5. So he goes bishop e7. It's a little passive but solid. Castle, castle. And now White plays the mysterious bishop a4. Obviously, he played bishop b5 to play bishop a4. So, I mean, yes, in a vacuum, he can play like bishop c2, queen d3, and try to set up a very subtle mate against h7. It's going to take a lot to do that, you know, and he's wasting time here. But I don't like Artie's next move, bishop e6. This is a poor square for the bishop. You know, maybe it will be necessary to put it there temporarily. But again, maybe we can blame the previous move, you know, bishop e7, for not putting the bishop on a better square on d6. A&W opened a restaurant with Long John Silver's here in Vegas. That's interesting. I'm surprised the company is still in existence. Does anybody remember the seafood restaurant? It's like a British restaurant called Arthur Treacher's. They used to have like, it was kind of like a Long John Silver's, like a old school 80s seafood, fast food restaurant. See you later, Camel. Bishop e6, yeah, not a great square. Bishop c2, and now rook c8. That's a good move. a3. He saw knight before coming. Queen b6, attacking pawn. Pawn to... Oh man, that's a problem for White. Uh-oh. That's a big problem. How long has this move been sitting there? Well, I mean, he has to play knight e2. That's all there is to it. It doesn't really matter. I mean, he just has to play knight e2. Regardless of how long this move has been there, I mean, it's forcing this move literally. So, at the end of the day, I mean, knight c3, knight a4 might kick you back, so it's not like the end of the world. White might be okay. Instead, he just blunders. Yeah, I mean, I realize that sometimes pawns are poisoned, but you can't just not take this pawn. White is kind of too far behind in development to punish you. So this is... I love Treasure Island. Yeah, I love Treasure Island. That's a great... At least back in the day. Great casino. Just for the theme. But anyway, queen takes b2. You gotta take the pawn, man. Queen takes b2, knight here, whatever. Just go back. You can get greedy if you want to with knight takes d4. White is just toast here. You gotta take the pawn. I mean, I'm not materialistic, but you gotta be materialistic here. And he's not. He just tries to play positionally. Now there's no way in. He's holding on. I'm not sure it's necessary. Yeah, I guess we have to do this. Okay, here. Knight h5. Knight e4. Okay. Be careful with the knight on h5, though. You know, you don't want to let that be a permanent 80s, talking about the ancient restaurant. Knight e4. My best friend who taught me to play chess used to like this seafood restaurant, Arthur Treacher's. They had like one in the mall, like in the food court, and you could just get like fish and chips and stuff. It's an English company, I'm pretty sure, but eventually folded up. Queen d3. We'll have to ask like Arsenal fan Rich or someone who would really know the English fish and chips scene. You must be older. Who is that? Queen d3, okay. Bishop g4. Knight takes g7, going nuts. Okay. He just lost his mind. He's got f3 though. Maybe not. Oh no. Okay, so what are we going to do here? We've got f3. But black has bishop f5. It's totally cool. I mean, at the very least, bishop f5 is fine. Bishop f5, pawn takes f5, bishop takes f5. Or you could take with the pawn if you prefer. Yes, white's king side is a little bit... Black's king side is a little broken, but I think that your activity here, where all of black's pieces are in play, compensates. So, the computer pointed out, like, bishop takes f3 there. Fish and chips. So this way of doing it, and then bishop g6, interesting. And then white plays on that knight. So, basically, I think black just hangs a piece here. It looked like an innocent move, so he just dropped a piece, and he didn't even see it. He went for this first. Oh, he's greedy. He's going to take everything. And this leaves white with a problem. So you can't take everything because this is going to drop at the end of the day. So white should have just sacrificed his appetite for this knight on a5. And that's just a clear piece up. Although white's a little discombobulated, that's better than nothing. So he ends up leaving d4 weak, and that's why he can't take the knight on a5. And then it's like not that clear. This is apparently some sort of mistake, though I don't see off the top of my head. Apparently you have bishop h6 or something. Maybe you have some sort of mental tactic. I don't see how you can do that. Just bishop g7, I guess, clearly. Black's just all over white now. d4 is weak. Black has a huge advantage. He just didn't really zone in on this. He just didn't zone in on this pawn. I mean, bishop g7, hello. Rook d8, knight c6, game, set, match. Black's extremely active now. The whole game just shifted to black's favor. He played queen d5. Threatening, I'm not sure what he was threatening. So it's kind of unclear now. No, sorry, here. I don't know why not e5, because that is a more attractive square. That's a nice tactic. That wins the game. Bishop c5. He basically has to sacrifice his queen now. And then he just goes off the deep end. So, knight takes c5, queen e3 check, king move, queen takes c5, bishop takes g6, just hypothetically, takes. It looks pretty hard to survive with two rooks against queen and knight. I think this is over. Okay, Artie, thank you for the game. White did not come back after that, but it was very back and forth. And the thing that struck me most significant, like exchanging on d4 early, as a mistake. But more importantly, like later on when you had queen b6, you had a chance to take this poisoned pawn on b2. I mean, of course, sometimes it's dangerous, but in that situation where white is like underdeveloped, you gotta take the pawn. I mean, he's just totally got no compensation. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. We're going to do some more game analysis here for Happy Thanksgiving in Zombieland. So we got Percy Hepworth coming up, I think. That's up next. All right, so Percy, welcome to the stream. Thanks, everybody. I'm sorry I'm not hitting all the chat mentions. But it's a busy day. When we do the game analysis, I have to get through like 12 games, and usually it's like kind of a little bit of a time scramble to get through all the games. So I try not to spend too much time on the chat, just because. Percy Hepworth, long player with the board game. I was black, need help. Actually, Percy's from the UK, isn't he? Maybe he's too young to know about Arthur Treacher's. All right. What are we doing here? Percy Hepworth. I'm going on Percy's like I thought he was from the UK. I'm going on his like account there, man, and I messed up my screen and everything. So long play game. Here we go. Percy said my opponent was 1900 FIDE. My first over the board for 6 months. You, oh man, come on. You were black. Okay. So let me flip the board. Welcome everybody to my stream, International Master William Pascal. We're just doing game analysis with the subscribers here on the stream. This week I'd like to thank Clash Kid, obviously 1,500 bits donated. He's not here tonight. But Nils today donated 910 bits to put him in second place. Dim is third with 900. Dim, you've actually increased your total today significantly. And I didn't really get to thank you for that. And Asterbait lurking. He's lurking in fourth place now. Last week's bit winner with 953. Also Merlin, Rufus, and Doofus. Thank you guys. You're late 40s, but I haven't heard of that restaurant. So maybe it was like a British company that kind of just marketed itself only here as like British fish and chips, or maybe it was even like made up, like who knows. C4, okay, E6, G3, D5, and then B3. You were black, right? So this is a Reti trick which I did see more commonly, like with white playing knight F3. This is a position I know with knight on F3. Let's say knight F3 instead, D5, B3. This is covered in a very old Reti book I have by Vyacheslav Osnos. It's like a Batsford book from the 80s. This is a very specific variation where white plays B3. He doesn't want to play like a Reti sort of gambit. He's being a little materialistic, does not want to sacrifice the pawn. But actually, I should think about this for a minute, because something about this position I'm mixing up. All right, no, this is specifically not as usual. Specifically, I'm thinking of the Slav line with like C4, let's say C4, C6, knight F3, D5, B3. Because in the Slav line, the capture of this pawn is more relevant, because black has the ability to play like B5 and try to hold on to stuff. So D5, B3, and then the trick is, the so-called trick is this tactical idea of D takes C, B takes C, and I had like one of the original Arthur Treachery. It pretended to be British to sell Americans British food with funny names. You see? Asterbait knows what I'm talking about. I was looking for a lawyer last week, and there was this one guy named Arthur Crooks, and then they were making jokes about his name. You want a lawyer named Crooks, or a food named Treachery. But yeah, this is the idea. This is an old Fritz 4 trick. E5, knight takes E5, queen D4. So black gets in E5, but that makes more sense. I mean, when black is playing E5 in one go, it becomes a good idea. Yeah, Arthur. Never trust anyone named Arthur. C4. Even the cartoon character is kind of creepy. So C4, E6, G3, D5, B3. Okay, so here we have the ultra materialistic attempt for black. D takes C4, B takes E4, and of course Blagojevich with queen D4. And this is a game from literally 2017. So what do you guys think? Blagojevich is a player, I don't know anything about him. He's probably a very young grandmaster. I've seen his name around. Maybe he's still an IM. I don't know if he's Croatian or Serbian. But to me, I don't know. This feels a little materialistic. Knight C3, queen takes pawn. You got to believe that white would have compensation. It's one thing to try to do this against the 2100. But I wonder if Blagojevich would be comfortable playing this against the Kasparov or like Oleg Romanishin or some kind of Catalan expert who's really good at whipping up like compensation against the pawn grabbers. I mean, the B file, if you play like rook B1, let's say rook b1, bishop g2, you have a lot of compensation. That's kind of standard. So let's see what Stockfish says. After queen takes c4, I'm curious. This guy went on to win a recent game, 2017. Stockfish Engine analyzing e3 with equality. White played knight f3. I mean, knight f3 is no doubt okay for white too. It does have the very, very obvious downside of blocking the long diagonal, though. You know, and I think that's maybe an important concept. I'm not sure. So, anyways, just be aware that this kind of pawn sacrifice, you know, is in a position. Knight f6. We're going to transpose back to a normal reti now, most likely. Bishop g2. Okay, we can still try the pawn grab. It looks like a number of people have attempted it here. D takes c4, B takes c4. Heinrich Danielson. Wow, these guys, Bukavshin, Heinrich Danielson, Jan Adamski from 1982, have all played this. The pawn grab, greed variation. Knight c3, queen takes c4. But why are these people winning? I don't know. You know, Heinrich Danielson, this was 1996. He probably wasn't even a GM yet. Adamski was playing a low-rated player. And the only like high-level game is a Kishmatul and Bukashin draw. So those guys are like equally matched. E3 looks computer. Well, it is. But, I mean, you know, it's attacking the queen. It's a semi-useful move. So that's, you know, play that at your own risk. I wouldn't play that pawn grab like that, but maybe some players like it. Knight f3, castles. So we're into like a mainline reti now by transposition. Castles, c5. Not the only way to play, but I've had a lot of people against me play like c6 lately on blitz. And this is just a little too passive for black. I don't really think that it's the best. I just saw Elvest in a game there. Wait, what was this? I saw an Elvest game. Or maybe I didn't, and I'm just making it up. That's weird. I thought I saw Elvest. But anyways, like I've seen Elvest play a5 here. Speaking of Elvest, a5 is a good move, you know. Elvest impersonator. I like a5. I've probably played this in a blitz game against somebody here on the stream. But anyways, all right. So c5, bishop e2. This is classical. Okay, so now we're really in heavy-duty reti theory here. I don't know, you know, enough. I know that Kasparov played with white some games against Karpov in their match, in their second match, I think. Gary was playing white in the reti against Karpov. And they had some interesting games. But I know that queen e2 is a key move. You typically do like d3 and a quick rook d1. You're going to have to ask Kramnik or one of these high-level guys like what the best move is for white. I mean, it is possible to play d4. Check this out. Like, seriously here, Percy? I mean, look at the statistical difference, guys. Let's look at this seriously for a minute. I'm a big believer in statistics. I played online poker for 7 years. I also studied statistics in school. I hate math, but I like statistics. And honestly, I mean, I hate theoretical math, and I like, you know, I like using statistics. But normally, you're not talking about enough games in a lot of databases at a point where like there's a relevant sample size. But if we're talking about a position where there's 911 games versus like 411 games, it's not like there's 20 games and 50 games. It's 900 games and 400 games. Look at the difference between the score for black here. I mean, that's really, really significant statistically. B6 has 19% wins for black, 38% wins for white, and then D4 has 29% wins for black and 33% wins for white. I mean, right there, that's like a red flag. I mean, that is telling me like D4 is just a better move, at least in terms of practical considerations. And I have to be honest, I've had some games, I lost a game to Boros Danish, playing the white side of a reti like this once. And once black plays d4, you kind of feel like, oh man, I'm playing black. You know, when you're white, you're kind of like, oh. I'm playing the black side of the Benoni now. You know, we're not having so much fun anymore. So experts need to be very well prepared when they're white in this kind of situation in order to avoid it just simply turning into a case where they're just playing the black side of a Benoni. So anyways, all right, b6, let's see, knight c3, bishop b7, cd5, and then you can capture either way. Knight takes seems safer. In general, trading pieces is like a safer approach. ed5, and now d4. Well, now it's very dangerous. d4 would be huge for black. If he could play d4, probably that's very disruptive. So d4 is just too big a threat. White can't allow that. He fixes the pawns. And so now white has the structure where I think white has superiority structurally. It's now transposed from the reti into a kind of Tarash structure where white has the better island. We see this pawn island, guys, from h2, g3, f2, e3, d4. A 5-pawn island all in one chain that's very hard to break up. Theoretically, white has a better structure here. Black has to compensate by having active pieces. That's the thing. So look how many games there are. There's a lot. White has a great score. Like, seriously, look at white's score here. There's just white all over the graph. 35, 45, 56% for white. 57%. I mean, come on. This is, like, brutal. You know, in a mainline opening like this, you don't want to see white having a score like that. That's just too high. Very, very bad statistically. So now queen d7. This has been played. I mean, rook c8 is very natural, though you have to watch out for bishop h3 sometimes. Knight e4 looks like a key idea. This is more of like a Queen's Indian approach, where you're going to try to play bishop f6. It's also a Tarash, a b3 Tarash type of approach. The trick with this is like d takes c5, knight takes c3. You could also play bishop f6. I wonder what's up with that. Wow, knight d4. Knight takes d4. Knight takes e4. This is really strange. And black lost every game. Well, that's not a good sign. Anyways, I guess you could play like knight e4, d takes e4, knight takes c3, and just play this simplified position. Bishop takes c3, b takes c5, or bishop takes c5. One player was brave enough to play bishop takes c5. Kramnik against Gawain Jones, 2012. I wouldn't want to play this position against Kramnik. You know, honestly, like white has this itty bitty advantage. It's totally Kramnik style. It's just a disaster place for Gawain Jones, who's like an aggressive player who plays the King's Indian, getting a technical position against Kramnik. I mean, that's kind of not good. Anyway, all right, queen d7. Let's see the game. Queen d7, rook c1. We don't really want to do this if it's going to just end up being an IQP. You're giving up the tension here unnecessarily with c takes d. The same mistake we saw, like, you know, essentially last game with c takes d. Why release the tension? You thought I said cranberry when I said Kramnik? It's a Thanksgiving theme, Infinite Flash Chess. What's up? So c takes d, knight takes d4. You must be hungry if you thought I said cranberry. Knight takes d4. You see, the more pieces you exchange, the worse you make your situation, in a sense. The IQP position, I did a middle game series for the Chess World, and I talked about this, but the IQP position is, you know, favoring the side. If you have the isolated queen pawn, it's favoring the side that's playing against the isolated queen pawn when you trade pieces in this way. Basically, your pawn becomes weaker. This weakness becomes more magnified every time you trade pieces. Now, you may be able to draw a heavy piece ending just dropping that pawn. I mean, it's very possible that a queen endgame or a rook endgame, you could just drop your d pawn and still hold on to draw. But you just generally shouldn't be trading pieces with an IQP. Now you've landed yourself in a passive position. White played like perfectly, by the way. Who is white? Because they're pretty scary strong player. There's something wrong with the input. Percy Hepworth. White did not play knight to G, queen to G4. Maybe queen G5? I think they must have played queen G5 and he misentered it or something. It would be like queen here. Trying to put more pressure on the D5 pawn. I'm just going to guess. You know, it was this. And then white, you know, black, let's see, played like H6, yeah. Absolutely. And then queen F4. So we transpose to the position in the score. Rook C8, knight A4 here. And white cashes in now. Did we miss anything here? Well, I think white messed around with the queen G5. This is a strange move for me right now. Sorry, I'm saying this move, queen G5. This is a strange move. I mean, why did he do that? He played basically perfectly and then just randomly moves his queen to G5. White has a very significant advantage here. This looks like it wastes time. He didn't play queen G4, kids. Rook C8, knight A4, bishop D6, bishop takes F6, queen F6. Now, I mean, yeah, you don't want to take with the G pawn. So I'm going to turn the engine off. I know I get complaints when we're too reliant like Maurice Ashley or something, but it looks like if you exchange rooks on C1, you could have like gotten him off of your D5 pawn. Now it's too late. He exchanges rooks, and you just lose the D5 pawn. So look at the difference there. I mean, it was just a tactical mistake by white. After bishop takes F6, I mean, this is an easy move to overlook, but you have rook takes C1. In between move, rook takes C1, and then queen takes F6, and then queen takes F6, and then G takes F6. And now there's no penetration through these entry points on the file. So, yes, white can play like knight C3 and probably still have, even there, I mean, I'm not sure. We can play like rook C8. You know, enforce some kind of endgame like this. We get to this stage. This looks like maybe a kind of position where black can probably, you know, hang on somehow. I'm not sure that's the optimal, though. A 1900 junior, okay. Wow. So, alright, bishop takes F6. Oh no, there's like a rat chewing on in the attic or something. Alright, rat, get out of there. Hey! I was like banging on the ceiling. I was joking about the short story by H.P. Lovecraft, The Rats in the Walls. I don't know what it is. There's an animal up there. All right, animal. You got to stop that. You're disturbing my stream. I'm going to have to go up in the attic and chase it out, whatever it is. I hope it's not like a raccoon that climbed down. But I don't know how. It couldn't possibly. How it would even get in there. It's too big to be a rat. Seriously, I don't know what it can be. Rook takes C8, bishop takes D5, bishop takes D5, rook takes D5, bishop E5, and this is looking tough for black, but you're only down a pawn, and it's on the king's side, and your bishop's still pretty strong, so white's going to play, what, F4 to kick your bishop back? He played rook D2. Okay, this is a good move. Can you hold here? That knight is bad. Maybe you play F5. Can you do that on, I guess not, because of rook D5. It's not, actually, it doesn't sound big enough to be a raccoon, but at the same time, it sounds too big to be a rat. So I'm kind of not sure, but after the stream, I'm going to have to climb upstairs and see what's up there, because it happened once last week, and I was like, just didn't feel like climbing up into the attic of the house. But now it's like gnawing on the ceiling. That's not good. Okay, B5 was played. Knight B2. Yeah, so here we got to try to cash in and draw this rook ending, or what? The apartment above you? What happened? It's funny that it's very cold outside, and it just started doing this now, you know, so it's like maybe it came in from outside. But I don't know, understand. Maybe a squirrel. The squirrel would kind of make sense the most, actually, the size-wise. size-wise, like squirrel. Bishop takes b2, rook takes b2. I like this exchange. I'm sorry to have to trade, but maybe we can hold this rook ending here. Rook c6. Well, rook c6 I'm not super crazy about. Okay, what's our defensive plan here? White's going to get back to the file. He's going to have a file. You're going to have a file. It's going to be about king position. I'm concerned that this may be very, very difficult for black to hold. What are you doing? Where's your king? Where's your king, man? It doesn't matter rook d6 or rook c6. I think you've got to get your king into the game. And you're not using your king. Okay, this is a strange move. I think rook e2. Here. Here. And now e4. White's king is better. He's up a pawn. This is very bad. The king is bad. I mean, your king should really be like around e6 by now, you know. And if you have your king on e6 and you're penetrating actively with your rook, I'd say you have good drawing chances. But this doesn't look good. It's definitely not a ghost. It was chewing on the ceiling last week too. Only when it's like cold or something. King g6, h4. This is not a good position for the black king. Here, okay. He's not making progress, but I think you should be more active. You know, something like rook c1. But maybe it's too late to do that. I don't know. You're defending this endgame a little too passively. Did you miss a chance there? No, here. Now he's making progress. You can't keep your rook on e6. Your rook has to stay active on the open file. This is no good. Too passive. So what happened here? Final result? I live 30 yards, 300 yards from Plymouth Rock. Well, I don't actually live 300 yards from Plymouth Rock. I was visiting 300 yards from Plymouth Rock. How did you know that? That was a couple weeks ago. No, I was just visiting 300 yards from Plymouth Rock, Acerbate. I don't actually live 300 yards from Plymouth Rock. I just had the opportunity to visit Plymouth Rock, and I didn't. I got within 300 yards, but it was too cold, and I... Alright, so rook e6. Do you guys hear that? Do you hear it? Maybe you can even hear it. It's like gnawing on the roof. But those, you know, those exterminators are expensive. I'd rather exterminate something myself. Alright, guys, let's go. What do we got for games now? Percy Hepworth is done. I don't know what happened at the end, Percy. You got to play more actively. King on e6. Keep the rook patrolling as actively as you can. It should be like on c1, where it can attack the enemy king from the rear or from the side, depending on what, you know, what's going on there. You were too hesitant with the king. All right, what do we got now for games? Neil Swint, Testosterone. Turkey Farms Turkey Day analysis, nice. You said you were near there on stream. Well, I did. I didn't mean it like that. I'm not that far, but I'm not that close. I'm not 300 yards. No, that's not what I meant. I was talking about a recent visit. You sent something if I need more. Mr. Coffee, you're in the list. You're up next. Percy, yeah, active endgame defense. You can probably hold that if your pawn structure wasn't mangled. You know, it's like either you have a mangled pawn or you're down a pawn. But both mangled pawn and down a pawn and your king is in a good position. That was going to be very hard to hold with passive defense. I'm very optimistic most average rook endgames can be drawn a pawn down. But you were pushing the limits there. Alright, I'm gonna bang on the ceiling here, guys. Rat. So, alright. Last time when I banged on the ceiling, it only like affected him for like 20 seconds. He started gnawing again. But I didn't go up and investigate last time. It was like in the middle of the night. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning and it started gnawing and I was too tired to do it. But now I'm serious now. I'm gonna investigate this squirrel or whatever it is. I went up in the attic a couple of weeks ago and I didn't see anything up there, and so I'm sort of surprised, but it's in one corner of the attic of the house that I didn't really get very close to. So, all right, let's do Testosterone. This is King's Indian Attack Turkey Day analysis. Testosterone is white. Yeah, we could do like a Blair Witch Project video or something. Will's Attic. Chess stream from Will's Attic. Seance with gnawing rats. It's seriously, rat. Alright, that's enough. He doesn't care. It's not a rat. I don't think it's a rat. It's too big to be a rat. Like, you know, we have little rats and mice and stuff, but this is like serious size. I think it's a squirrel. It's too small to be a raccoon. Too big to be a small rat or mouse. It's got to be a squirrel. Like, it's driven in by the cold. It got in the attic somehow. That's my guess. But anyway, you guys love it. Alright, so knight f3, knight f6. Testosterone is white. He likes the King's Indian attack. g3, d5, bishop g2, bishop g4. Okay, so when you encounter this, there are two ways to approach this. I mean, you know, some people might play d4, but I don't think that's... I don't know. I don't really like the d4. I think that you play it like a King's Indian, or you play it like... You sort of play it in a Benoni style. You could do double fianchetto if you wanted to, but for the most part, I think it's a choice between if you do c4, excuse me, or d3. There are two approaches, okay? So bishop g4. Another move that's overrated is probably like knight e5. You could play knight e5, but I think this move, you know, eventually the knight is going to be sorry. It's going to lose time. The move actually has a pretty good score, speaking of statistics, but it's rarely played. I don't know. Okay. A lot of people, by the way, if you really want to go and be a purist, like knight f3, d5, technically speaking, probably like d5, bishop g4 is more accurate than playing the way this guy played with knight f6 and bishop g4. This is, I think, the purest move order for black. No, they're not doing... They're chewing on the wood very clearly. It's like an animal that's hungry. It doesn't have food, and it's clearly chewing on the wood. g3 here. All right, so we've got knight f6 here, d5, bishop g2, bishop g4, castles. Okay, not committing. And then e6, and now he's got to choose c4 or d3. I've been doing more c4 lately with not really great results. So I've tried both. I mean, to be honest, you can't really expect to get an advantage here for white. It's basically equal. It's just what kind of position do you feel more comfortable playing. He's got to try c4 if he likes that. That's fine. But d3 is fine too. Now knight on bd7. Black can also play. I guess he could try to play c5, but then he'd be playing a Smyslov King's Indian. Down a tempo. Probably interesting. So anyway, knight on bd7, knight bd2. This is not necessarily the most accurate move order for white. If you want to play this turkey farm, I play queen e1 a lot. This move I like. You've got queen a1, queen a5 diagonal. It gets out of the pin. You're going to support e4. You're not necessarily going to commit your knight to d2 right away. And I think this gives you a lot of flexibility. If you play queen e1 first, and I'm a player who's played the King's Indian a lot, though I haven't been playing it recently on the stream. I do know a lot about the King's Indian as black. And we're basically playing a Tory attack with colors reversed here. So trust me, queen e1 is a good move. I did have a recent game, actually, at the Budapest Spring Open, where I reverted back to the system. Not with great results, though. Alright, so knight on bd2. Here, yeah, Kramnik lost, against, shockingly last year against Tarjan, whose name should actually be Tarjan. Against James Tarjan, he lost shockingly with white because he wanted to beat the lower rated Tarjan too much, and shockingly lost at the Isle of Man last year. But yeah, Vladimir does sometimes play that sort of stuff. h3. Black can also exchange bishops on f3, though I don't like it as much when the knight's ready to recapture. e4. So this is a very, very strange move by black. Knight b6. I don't like that square, and I don't know what black's plan is with knight b6. I don't understand. And now he plays a4. Okay, a4. Mark Dvoretsky and I worked together briefly for a couple lessons, and one of the things that Mark pointed out was, typically when you play, we talked about openings for the most part. When you play the King's Indian, King's Indian attack or King's Indian or whatever, you're typically like not gonna play on the other guy's side of the board. Like generally, when you play on the other guy's side of the board, you're helping him. So in a vacuum, a4 is like a mistake. You're playing the king's Indian. The king side is your side. The queen side is his side, and you're playing on his side of the board. So you're making weaknesses on the side of the board where he's trying to make inroads, essentially. Now, there are exceptions, of course. Sometimes black plays a5, obviously, on the black side of certain king's Indian positions. But in general, we're very early in the position here. It's early in the game, and I think that a4, it certainly wouldn't be my first thought. Yes, you can try to punish his knight on b6, but there's another way to think about this philosophically, Turkey Farm. You can say, oh, I'm going to punish his knight on b6, his bad knight on b6, but the other way of thinking about the position is, I'm going to leave his stupid knight on b6, and I'm not going to chase it away. I'm just going to leave it there because it's in a bad position. So you can do the opposite philosophy, which is not attack it because it's badly placed. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Maybe a4, a5, a6 could be a strong idea, but you have to think about it. Okay, a4, rook c8. Well, that's a pretty telegraphic move. He's obviously intending to move his c-pawn. a5. And now, you might go all the way with a6 here. Just go for white square weaknesses, but it would lock the position significantly. So g4, okay. I'm very reticent to play g4 usually, and I've learned this the hard way, that if you play g4, oftentimes you weaken your f4 square. So be very careful if that becomes like an outpost for black. This is not a very good setup for black at the moment with a knight on a8, Emery Tate. I've told the joke a lot. He did knight a8 against me in a Benko Gambit, and he was like, knight a8, triple exclam. It's okay. It's not really where you want to have the knight, basically. The knight, if it was somewhere in the vicinity of the center, could be poised to like go into f4 or something. So here, knight e5, d takes e4, d takes e4. Oh, wow. Cool move. Okay. Cool move. Nice. a6. Intermezzo. Very pretty. Dubious according to the computer. Give me a break. I like a6. It's creative. Turkey Farm's looking for the c6 square, breaking up a structure. Wow, you're just going crazy now with h4. It's tough. There's a lot of choices, but I don't see anything wrong with just recapturing here. So what's the deal? Okay, you're threatening to win a piece. Actually, well, what happens on pawn takes pawn is a big question. Pawn takes pawn h5, pawn takes pawn queen e2, and like his bishop is trapped on g6. That's pretty cool. So h5, well, you kind of, it's a who can blame him, What is he supposed to do here? He's basically been undermined across the board on the white squares. Very creative play, Turkey Farm. Nice job. So now you just chop him up. Oh, you played g6. Okay. Well, you can take on g6 first. I think you're going to have to do this. But I guess g5 is more accurate, maybe, somehow. What if he tries knight g4 after g5? Stupid question. He does do knight g4. And now you have to make a decision. Which way do you want to take? You're going to just live with the knight on g4. Oh, no. Subtle Tigo. Subtle Tigo. Is Subtle Tigo in the house? This is his kind of move. Intermezzo, Zwitch and Zug. Threatening mate in one. Yeah, now we sack the queen. Queen takes g4. Two bishops in the middle of the board. We sack the queen for 3 pieces. Queen takes g4. He did it. He did it. I swear I didn't look at the game score. You actually did it. Oh my god. Queen takes g4, and then you can take on e4. Yeah, this is clean. And everything's like protected. You take that, and it's a bonus piece on h8. Bonus piece. Knight takes h8. We don't even need to like... Oh man. Total coordination for white. Yeah, this looks really good. Beautiful. But you missed knight takes e4. So sadly he did the queen sack, and then played knight c4 for some reason. When knight e4 is just like a little more secure. And black played what? Queen d8. Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. All pieces in the game. Total coordination. He might not even be able to get the rook. Sorry, the knight on h8. You got a little overexcited. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's fun. The tragedy of knight c4, right? That the sick knight on a8 is going to trade itself off. That's terrible. So g5, g6. Rescuing your knight, essentially, which makes sense. Should be good enough. Right. And I mean, mathematically, you're winning here, according to material. Your bishops are conveniently controlling, or will be controlling, some key squares. So it looks like you can set up bishop f4. You're just winning. I mean, essentially, you have a rook and two bishops for a queen. And that should be enough to win the game. See, now, this is not a move I would make. Not even, under any circumstances. Just secure your position. Bishop g3. And make sure you're secure, and then you can go offensive. Tragic blunder. Well, it's a pretty blatant piece drop. Now black's like winning. Just no room for mistakes after you sacked your queen. And it's downhill from there. Sorry, man. That was a great effort. Really cool game. Alright, guys. We still have an hour left in the stream. So we got plenty of time. And the rat stopped gnawing on the roof, which is good. Never happened during a stream before. Where's Zen Chess? We haven't seen him in a while. Anyway, thank you for that really cool game. You justified your whole approach on the queen side with a4, a5, by the way. So that's the thing. You got to do it. I mean, you can't just blindly make moves on the queen side in the King's Indian. You got to be creative, and you got to string it all together, and you did a good job. I'm trying to teach people to be dogmatic, but when you do play, with some kind of queen side moves in a King's Indian, you got to really be sure that you're making it work somehow. He was low on time. To be fair, it was 15-15. He was low on time. All right, let's move on to Mr. Coffee. Did I miss anybody? I feel like I missed someone, but I don't think so. Okay, Mr. Coffee. First game, Rubinstein, Chigorin, 1906. Would be interesting to have your perspective. Wow, cool. Awesome. Classical chess from over 100 years ago. I love it. Highly recommend, guys, that you study Rubinstein. Just like one of the greatest positional players of all time. And he wasn't bad technically either. And also, he was like 100 years ahead of his time in the opening, which is really cool. So the guy was just all around good. And again, if it wasn't for World War I, he would have probably become world champion. Rubinstein Chigorin, 1906. Okay, let's check it out. So, thanks for submitting this, Mr. Coffee. d4, d5, knight f3. Geese the Great was thinking f4 and then knight f3 instead of sacking the queen. That probably wouldn't have worked. Well, I didn't like f4 at any points. I did look at that, though, Geese the Great. You have to think about f4. Yeah, I mean, it might have worked. I glanced at it. Obviously, there's an en passant, capture on f3. I wasn't sure. f4 requires a lot of calculation. And f4 weakens your king side, so sacking the queen, in a sense was, like, safer. e6. Again, this is Rubinstein versus Chigorin, 1906. So Kali system. But Rubinstein, what I've talked about in my stream before, why I like Rubinstein, one reason, his opening play, his endgame play, I mean, all of his play was great, but what made him kind of cool was the fact that A, he played e4, B, he played d4, and when he did play d4, he not only played, like, mainline c4, d4, c4 stuff really well, and in many cases contributed hugely to basically the modernization of opening theory. He was, as I said, like 50, 75 years ahead of his time, but he also played closed queen pawn systems very well. Stuff like the Kali system, the London system, the Tory attack. I mean, this is such a universal player. So here he's playing the Kali system with white. E3, knight f6, bishop d3. If you like closed queen pawn systems, keep a Rubinstein like essential study basically. Bishop d3, c5, and now, I mean, I guess this is debatable, you know. But one of the things, the enduring things about Rubinstein, which is amazing, was like you look at his play, and even by today's standards, it was modern. I mean, here he's playing, and how is he playing? He's not playing like a routine Kali system. He's incorporating b3, you know, which is called the Kali-Koltanowski system. But honestly, I mean, maybe it should have been called the Rubinstein system. But there's so many openings named after Rubinstein that actually, you know, you're kind of like running out. You can't call every opening the Rubinstein system. So we call it the Koltanowski. b3. Okay, sometimes there's some checks that can be disruptive. Basically, b4 check with the bishop, sometimes queen a5. You might, you know, some people would prefer to like castle here. The argument about this may be, okay, black can play c4. And there's Kramnik-Giri 2017. And Vlad won. The point is that you drive the bishop back, but then you can crack it with b3. I was talking about this with a certain person yesterday, or Tuesday, I can't remember. But the idea would be allow c4 and then break it up with b3. Very interesting stuff. So actually, Kramnik here playing this line with white. But some people don't find it comfortable. So you could also view this as a Queen's Indian with colors reversed. Basically an e3 Queen's Indian. So black could try some funky stuff. Like, look at Queen a5 check. This is not a stupid move. It's played by Nigel Short, Christian Bauer, Tony Miles. The idea is to disrupt white from establishing like a comfortable setup. He's going to force white to make some sort of concession. All moves that might be played by white here are some slight concession. Bishop d2 is a concession. c3 is a concession. Obviously queen d2 would trade queens. I mean, I'm surprised no one's tried that, but just to give you an insight into like the ways that black could handle this, you know, queen a5 check is very interesting, and I think you'll find that in Rubinstein's games too. But here he plays b3, knight c6, castles. Okay, so no more disruptive checks. a6. For me, a6 seems a bit strange. You know, it's not like we're gonna go bishop b5 or something. I don't fully understand why a6 is played so early. It's a bit weird. So I feel like here, you know, you could convert to like a normal queen pawn type of game with c4, possibly. Oddly enough, it's only played in 7 games, and white did not win any of them. We'll just chalk that up to bad luck. Let's see what the computer says, because I'm going to predict c4. Maybe we can't play c4 because it drops a pawn. Maybe I'll take away my prediction. So c4, dc, bc, dc, ed. I mean, cd, ed. Let me get back to the game here, Mr. Coffee. So I was saying c4 after a6. But, sorry, guys. Mouse retarded here. a6, c4. I want to play c4 really, really bad for white, but it's like c4, dc, bc, cd, ed. Knight takes d4 can simply be played. So we can't do it. The point is going to be, you'll have to delay it a move, and you'll have to play it next move. Maybe bishop b2, and c4, knight b4 is not a problem because of bishop b2. But I think the problem is the pawn hanging on d4. So we play bishop b2, and then if black plays b5, then we hit him with c4. But he could do like a Saruman structure thing where they do like dc, bc, and b4, creating like an imbalanced pawn structure where black has outside pawns. I'm not surprised if that happens in some of these games we'll see here. Bishop b2. Let me turn on the engine and just check that for a second. What does the computer say white should play here? Wow. Theoretical novelty, rook e1. I think there's a lot of room for new ideas, you know, in certain openings. Look at this, like Stockfish basically coming up with a theoretical novelty on move 7 that could be really, really relevant. Rook e1 with retreat squares for the bishop. What if black plays b5? What are we doing here? We're hitting them with a4. This looks totally... By the way, this is the kind of thing that Kramnik would study. And this is the kind of thing that Kramnik excels in. Slightly offbeat. Mamedyarov as well. Slightly offbeat lines and like learning them really well. Finding little tricks. This is actually something... Mamedyarov even a better example. Maybe with white playing weird, creepy, unanalyzed systems that catch people out. Look at this. Like a4. And now with b4... we prevent black from playing c4 somehow. And the engine claims that white has an advantage here. It's very interesting. Anyways, let's take a look here. So, bishop b2. This is Rubinstein versus Chigorin. Chigorin not a slouch, by the way. C takes d4. We've talked about this today already, guys. No bishop b5. But, as I talked about, exchanging a 5th rank pawn for a 3rd rank pawn. Technically, on paper, that's advantageous to white. However, there's a point to it that it does deaden white's bishop on b2. You could take and you could be a wimp here and play like knight takes d4 and you're equal. Bartsai Laszlo has a game in 1994. He was already like basically like inactive. He would play in first Saturday Grandmaster tournaments in the early 90s. But Bartsai, he's obviously not ambitious here in this position, playing knight takes d4. No, e takes d is correct. Black plays bishop d6, and now knight on bd2. Black could play knight b4. We go back to e2. No big deal. Castles, rook e1. So Rubinstein's not concerned about knight b4. And after rook e1, it's funny because both modern games are a3. But Akiba here decided that a3 is just not necessary. If rook e1, we retreat our bishop back to f1. You could even play like g3 and like bishop g2 or bishop h3. You could follow up with something like that. So interesting. Like, actually, this guy playing in 1906, guys. Check out these games. Hernandez, Basante, and Nayar. This is a man who played this game in 1906, and he played better than these guys in 2000 and 2002. Stockfish saying like rook e1 is a better move. Mr. Rubinstein played in 112 years ago. So bishop d7. The engine there pointing out b6 might be better. And then the classic knight e5. And white played, I joke a lot about ancient aliens and stuff like that, but there's all these rumors about different people like Einstein who might have been, contacted by aliens or received, secret information from, these crazy conspiracy ideas. They might have received intelligence from another civilization in their dreams or something. But Rubinstein is kind of like that in a way. He's playing chess like strategically as well as Stockfish back in 1906, and he really didn't have anyone to learn this from. Okay, rook c8. a3. Finally, there was a threat of knight b4 with a double attack. Yeah, Chigorin may have been past his prime, JCS. Chigorin was a different player, much different style player than Rubinstein, of course. Right. Well, I'm talking about the famous, I don't remember his name, the famous Indian mathematician who claimed to learn, all of his mathematical knowledge from, just from ancient aliens or something. Knight e7, knight on d to f3. But Rubinstein, of course, never made any claims about aliens. I'm just kind of making a funny reference. Okay, knight e7 here. Black's a little passive. It's very important to control the e4 square. Make sure that you got that under control, because this sort of thing, you got to be prepared in case there's some kind of pawn sacrifice or something that black can't interfere with you. But I don't think it's sound. So be very careful when you move the knight away from e4, in other words. Black can't throw a knight on e4. Right, Ramanujan, exactly. That's what I meant. So knight on df3, here knight g6, g3. And now we're already seeing the possibility of a bishop transfer to g2. You could see that happening, and the long diagonal. Bishop e8. Notice how white has a little more space. Spectacular Camel lost. He left already, but he had a game he showed me where he did knight f8, knight g6. I didn't like it today. So this move. Oh, this is a famous game, I think. Like, let's see, like knight g5. And Rubinstein's actually going kind of postal here with the knight g5, making way for possibly h4, h5, queen h5, and actually f4. Bishop e8 is a nice move. It's a very standard sort of Steinitzian defensive move. Black's extremely passive here, and now h4. And I talk about this all the time, how knights on knight 3 are not well placed. We saw yesterday. Last game, Turkey Farm's game with a4, a5 against the b6 knight. Here we see h4, h5 against the g6 knight. And this is a game I've definitely seen before. I mean, this is embarrassing. You know, this is embarrassing to play knight h8. We saw knight a8 last game. Now we see knight h8 here. And at this point, another similarity to the game that we looked at with Turkey Farm, but Rubinstein making a decision here, which is sort of strategically risky. He decides to play a4, weakening his weaker side, you might say, like I was talking about in terms of, this is a real judgment call. I mean, I would be concerned. You've got to be concerned about like bishop b4. But keep in mind, guys, tactics are in the air. You know, knight g4 is going to create mating threats against h7. We can throw that move in at any moment. It's like dropping a nuclear bomb on h7. A4, h6. He just calmly plays knight h3, inducing weaknesses. Now the knight is like condemned to death. This was a bad game by Chikorin. I mean, he should know better than to end up with his knight on h8, obviously. So it's not a good game for him, but a very effective game for white. So he massages the black king side. Now black's going to trade off that guy, but we've got knight f4. And h6 is not a really good thing for black, because having played that move, now f6 creates all that many more weaknesses. It's a total disaster. Bishop b4, and now c3. And this is like, I'm trying to remember. I'm going to turn off the engine here. I'm trying to remember how this works. I definitely saw this game quite a while ago. So if c3, bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3, rook takes c3. I'm trying to understand how this tactic works. I mean, Rubinstein, not a player who played tactics for the sake of playing tactics. You know, his tactics were like ironclad. When he played something, it definitely just worked. Let's see. So bishop takes c3. Oh, queen c2, of course. So queen c2, threatening mate with bishop h7. Asterbate will love this. Threatening mate with bishop h7, and then taking on c3 simultaneously. And that's just ridiculous. Yeah. I found it. It took me a little while, but I found it. So, tactics are very much the product of positional advantage. I think that Botvinnik would have appreciated this. Queen c2. So, anyway, black played bishop d6. He played queen c2 anyway, threatening mate in 1. Black plays g6. The Swiss cheese over here. If the black bishop was on g7 and the black knight was on, if they were reversed, where black had a bishop on g7 and the knight, like, or even h8, and the knight on d6, black would be okay. This is not okay. Queen d2. So it's like massage for the king side. And g5 now is kind of, you know, you can see how the h file will become King's Indian attack land. Yeah, I was kind of expecting king g2, but I think that Akiba might have been a little concerned about. He's obviously a little concerned about like bishop c6 generating counterplay for black. So it's not that simple to do king g2. You could try king h2, but still you could have to work out what to do against that here. This is the game where actually I remember. I think it's kind of a game that I might have done on chesslecture.com long ago, like 10 years ago, where, yeah, I remember. Okay, king g7, rook d1. This is weird. You know, it looks like White isn't really breaking through. But he's setting up c4. There it is. So the bishop, it's reminding me of a Zukertort game. Zukertort Blackburn. That was another Koley-Kotanowski system, I think. BC4, BC4. Oh my gosh. Bishop c6 and then bishop c1. Maybe I actually didn't do this game. Maybe it's a different game I'm thinking of. Rook h8 and now knight takes g5. Yeah, I think this was actually a different game than I was thinking it was. Watch out for mate, guys. Black has a little bit of life left in him. But White's also threatening knight takes e6 check, which is just game over. So he played queen e8 to defend the g6 guy. But actually, Chigurh getting cagey here with the rook h1. Bishop takes g6. Uh-oh. Just in time. So what about, DC here? We just played bishop e4. So he has to take, and then his king is just... It's over. It's just totally over. Just take on d5. Smashed. So it wasn't like really an aesthetic finish, but he got the job done, basically. Look at those pawns, man. Welcome to my pawns. And otherwise, everything's equal. Rook here, and knight e4. Ouch. And this square. Man, nice game. Thank you for submitting that, Mr. Coffee. So, guys, we have half an hour left in the stream now. I'm not sure if I missed anybody's submissions. I did Asterbait, Blue Eyes. Wait, we didn't do Blue Eyes' game. That's what I forgot. Because Blue Eyes isn't here. That's what I forgot. I knew I forgot somebody. Blue-Eyed Albino. We didn't actually do his game. Okay, cool. So, Blue-Eyed Albino, sorry for the delay, man. Young and unexperienced in time pressure. Opponent was much older and his elo was around 2200 plus. You're welcome, Mr. Coffee. Thanks for submitting that game and hope it inspires you for the tournament this weekend. Blue-Eyed Albino, not here in the stream. Okay, he's white. Alright. So Albino's been a new subscriber the last couple weeks to our stream. He seems like a pretty strong player. 2100-ish plus FIDE. 2100 plus plus. He's playing white, e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4. Like Magnus. Magnus playing black, of course, against Carlsen today. It draw land. Will suddenly someone strike in the last two games? So knight takes d4. Oh no. It's weird because actually Blue-Eyed Albino submitted another game last week, I think it was, where it was actually an accelerated dragon as well. So I wonder if this is the same opponent. G6. No, that he said was an older game. Okay, knight c3. Truthfully, if you want to be a chess purist from the mathematical standpoint, because I played accelerated dragon with black too. Dim says Magnus was so upset today. Never seen him like that before. I didn't really analyze the game in great detail. Did he miss something huge? So purists might argue that c4 is the better move. But I think the thing is, stylistically, it's important. Are you a tactical player? Do you like to attack? Checkmate the king? Because if that's the case, then like Blue-Eyed Albino, you might prefer to play a more classical open Sicilian with knight to c3. c4 is very much it's very much for positional grinders, more of a Botvinnik type of approach. So I'm kind of on the fence. I can play both, and I have pretty universal style. I also can change styles. So depending on my mood, I play both c4 and knight c3. But I think the attacking players should prefer to play knight c3. Bishop g7, bishop e3, knight f6, and then bishop c4. And then black played queen a5. And this is like Roman Gingy-Hashvili's, who I used to work with. Roman's I don't know if he still recommends this, but this was his favorite variation. So I joked about this last week. Gingy Gingy used to play queen b4 in Blitz. I've actually used this a lot, like just for fun. It's like a variation that's a bluff and doesn't work, but people don't know the refutation. No, it's not a good move for black, but you have to know exactly why it doesn't work, or you like lose a pawn. And most people just lose a pawn, so it's good for Blitz for black. But seriously, castles. And now let's see. Okay, bishop b3. This is main line. Black plays d6. And again, h3. That's main line. And so here we have bishop d7, which is still main line. And now here we have a branch for white. And this is all analyzed very much in depth, especially the best book if you want to. I don't know, it's not very new, but Accelerated Dragons by John Donaldson is the most thorough work on Accelerated Dragon. Turkey Farm is gifting a tier 1 sub to Sladgie's community. Wow, it's their first sub in the channel. Turkey Farm gifted a tier 1 sub to Orc Power _. Happy Turkey Day, thank you. So Orc Power _ just got a free, he just got a free sub. That is awesome. A Turkey Day gift sub from Turkey Farm in honor of the turkeys. So Orc Power is the lucky winner of today's gift sub. Thank you so much for donating, man. Anyway, Accelerated Dragon Theory, you know, has probably progressed. But anyway, this move, Rook E1, it's more of a like subtle line. Most people play, and including myself, I play both sides of the position after F4. And there are many, many different variations for black. F4 is more of a traditional move. We're playing for like a kingside attack if we can. Here, Rook E1, it's more strategic. I think that white is basing a lot of ideas on the knight to D5 and trying to get some kind of indirect pressure on black against E7. The kind of just a restraining variation, essentially. I remember very distinctly here that theory recommends, I thought, rook on f to e8, which is, it's a move that I think Donaldson recommended. The weird thing about rook f e8 is that it looks like your f7 square is very weak. And that particularly may seem strange, but white also took potentially a rook away from the f file. There's also, like, I was thinking even this might be a move, but not commonly played. So it looks like rook c8 or rook f e8. But I remember Donaldson liking this move, I thought, for some reason. So maybe I misremembered. b5. Wow. So I don't know about this move. Blue-Eyed Albino submitted this game. He's white, and he played rook e1. Now his opponent comes up with b5, which is a move that I'm not familiar with. But what is noticeable, okay, none of these games are very old. It's 2008, 2011, and 2016. And the only one that's really notable is the first one on the list. What's notable is it's Jordan van Foreest, who's this very, very talented Dutch player. And he's got a lot of following now. Very strong player. So what's notable is that he was held to a draw by a guy rated about the same as me in 2016, and that's quite interesting. No new games since then. You know, it's not that common of a line, rook e1, really. This is rarely played, so b5, uncorking that move. What's the theory here according to the engine? So Stockfish likes rook f e8, the Donaldson suggestion. You know, it's kind of defending e7, essentially. But that's after quick analysis. We could let the computer go a little bit longer here. Hopefully it doesn't freeze my stream if we analyze this a little bit. If I've got it on just one line, it doesn't usually freeze the stream. So hopefully, if we have bad lag, I'll turn it off. But let's see if we can get Stockfish to a deeper depth. It's saying rook f e8, knight f3. Rook f e8, knight f3 makes sense. Aiming at knight g5 and attacking f7. And knight f3 makes sense in a lot of lines because you're actually, it seems counterintuitive, but you're actually avoiding exchanges of pieces. The knight on c6, it gets in black's way. It's in the way of the bishop. It's also in the way, like in the Najdorf, of the rook along the c file. So trading pieces typically benefits black a little bit more than white. Yeah, it looks like rook f8. So what's the deal with this move b5? Not an not a totally unheard of idea. Gingy used to like to get his queen across first, and then he liked to play b5. Like he had a game with Judith Polgar in a different position with f4 played, but I remember Roman had a game, one of the Polgar sisters, where it was like knight f3 and then b5. The idea is that you get like the queen across, and then b5 is like not, stranding your queen on a5. Boroch Istvan here. A Hungarian IM I know, actually, with the game winning with white in this exact position. But just for argument's sake, the queen would prefer to be across first. So b5, and now even Van Foreest couldn't win against a 200 point lower opponent. Computer recommends knight takes c6. Well, okay, fine. What are we doing? So we can't take the pawn on b5 because of knight takes e4. This is a very standard tactic. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, queen takes b5. We trade a wing pawn for a center pawn. That's more or less probably okay for black. But what's the deal here with knight takes c6? Okay, why is this so good for white? Bishop takes c6 and knight to d5. I mean, you kind of like shrug your shoulders and you say, okay, what's the big deal? The answer is there is no big deal. It's like the Muppet Show. What was it the old man in the Muppet Show used to say? Some sort of joke. Bishop takes c6. Okay, well, it's okay for white, but it's nothing like earth-shaking. Knight to d5. So the computer is recommending queen d8. That's not an easy move for a human being to play. Maybe for a computer. It looks wrong, it looks retreating, and it looks kind of passive. If queen there, well, I mean, for example, like what would happen if, say, bishop g5? Look at this line. For example, this looks very scary for black. Bishop g5, e6, and you have to calculate this variation. Bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, queen takes f6. I had a very, very similar game on the stream weeks ago where I analyzed something like this. And this looks ridiculous. I mean, it looks like white is just up a pawn, right? But maybe it's not so clear. Like compensation, c3, rook fd8, and suddenly we control the open file. Hello. Hello? Is it me you're looking for? I mean, this is seriously a little bit problematic for white. The rook is coming to d2. I don't think I like this anymore, Queen a3, oh, that's great. Rook d2. Oh no, we have queen takes a7. But we've got rook takes b2 and your pawn structure is just gone. So, that's the kind of thing you'd have to analyze here, guys. I hope you liked my song. I'm not going to sing any more Lionel Richie, I promise. But here, okay, white has lots of potential moves. Black played rook on f to e8. c3 looks absolutely standard. Blue-eyed albino most likely was concerned about knight takes e4, right? What are we doing on knight takes e4? Like seriously, what am I missing here? Well, there is no clear answer. Your answer is that there is no answer. This is kind of a deep idea, but okay, you got that. See, you got that. The long-term pressure along the e-file. So the simple move here. Wow. Simple chess. Bishop d4, e5. Rook takes e4. E takes d4. And knight e7 check. Whoops. There goes nothing. What's happening here? So the c6 will be hanging with the queen attack. Yeah, this is terrible. You have to sack the exchange now. But even that, like, maybe black's getting some kind of counterplay. Rook takes f7, king h8. Sadly, at the end of the day, the engine is just laughing at black. Like, you're just down the exchange and you're lost. Okay, not easy to calculate. But basically, albino just played knight takes f6. This is a sort of wimpy move. You're playing a higher rated player, and you're just simplifying the position. It should be a draw here. He kind of bails out with this. Dancing on the ceiling would be more appropriate. With the rodent squatter, I love it. Thank you, Percy Hepworth. He's quiet now. I must have lulled him to sleep with my talking. I think I hypnotized the rat or squirrel or whatever. That's what my stream does to people. I hope it's not having that effect on our viewers. Seriously, guys, thanks for watching and being part of the stream here. Usually our subscriber stream's a little bit lower in terms of numbers, but the content, I don't know why people don't watch, because our content is awesome. Lots of instructive stuff usually. Analyzing these games is the best thing you can do, is to analyze games, especially top games. You know, if you look at Rubinstein's games like Mr. Coffee submitted. Anyways, so blue-white albino just kind of bailed out with an equal position. Bishop takes d4, queen takes d4, rook d8, and now we shouldn't be too dismissive of albino though, because he still has some small edge. Did black do something wrong? Well, I mean, honestly, rook d8 is one of those moves that's played sometimes, but it's not really a great square for the rook. You know, I mean, think about it. What is it doing there? You know, discouraging e5 or something? I wonder if you were to play queen b6, how bad would that be? When my opponent has the initiative, I like I like clarifying, but the structure's pretty bad. After this, you might be tortured for a long period of time. White's going to fix those pawns on b6 and b5 forever. Be prepared for a long torture session after queen takes d4, queen b6. So the engine suggests queen takes d4, queen c7. Well, that obviously doesn't trade any pieces. But black's plan would be a minority attack with like a5. And then keeping the rook over there on a8 or b8 might actually be more useful than playing. We're scared of f7 though. You know, does white get like... I'm looking at rook e3, trying to do some sort of attack. Anyway, guys, h4. Primitive? Yes. But it might be good. You know, Panda. Where's our pandas? They love... The chess pandas. Our mascot is Panda. He's in Budapest, but they have a thing about h4. We love h4. No. h4 is... I mean, this isn't a position where there's a lot of pieces on the board to conduct a direct attack, but I think h4 is viable here. You know, the threat of playing h4, h5, h6, even in the endgame, I mean, even in a queen endgame, this should be a viable idea. So black is like, all right, I'm not having any of that. You know, you're not going to checkmate me on g7. So queen d3. I would think that he's trying to restrict d5 because, you know, jumping on the dark squares, we can't play queen d2. Queen e3 might allow d5. So I think that this is a very specific move. Queen d3, stopping d5, but also maybe intending on transferring the queen over there later on. Queen c7, good defense. Rook d1, queen there. Now this move, I mean, you know, I don't have a problem with g3, but maybe you could be a little bit afraid that your own white squares could get weakened. So yeah, it's kind of a unique situation. I mean, I think we should probably play bishop d5 at some point and just trade that. So I mean, is g3 really a bad move? I mean, what's the engine want to do here? Magnus. Yesterday, by the way, in their Sicilian, Magnus played h5 too quickly against Caruana, ironically. But it's critical here. So the computer likes h5. Wow, that's a little surprising. You'd think like queen g5 and black would be all right. That sign is surprising, you know. h5. Wow. So queen g3. Is g3 bad? I would play like g3 in a blitz game, try to trade the bishops with bishop d5, and then white is just simply slightly better. And later on, we could play like king g2 and rook h1 and try to do something. Black would probably play h5 himself. White is better. I mean, black is just backward on the d file here. So queen g3, trying to set up h5 and some sort of cheapo. King g7, and now a3. White didn't know what to do, just keeps his options open. Alright. This is a strange move, bishop d7. But he's trying to force an exchange of bishops. He's had enough of this tension. I mean, I would think that black could play a5, you know, and go minority attack here. Or h6, another move. Try to meet h5 with g5 on the dark squares. This move, he's trying to be, you know, kind of like forcing the situation a little bit. Right. Okay. Okay. There was a famous game, I think, with Fischer and Reshevsky with this Najdorf structure. It could have easily been a Najdorf at this point. Rook ed1, h5, okay, and then queen g5. So, feels like queen g5. It's a little surprising to me. I mean, actually, yesterday I was commenting how blue-eyed albino, it was like pulling teeth to get him to like trade queens against me in a blitz game. I'm a little surprised to see him play queen g5, but he can't really move his queen anywhere without dropping the h4 pawn. So this turns out to be a good move. Black could play f6, certainly, but he doesn't. This guy is the 2200 getting tortured now with black. Yeah, g3, no problem. So look at that bishop on c8. Very tense game. And this move is... I'll tell you right now, I have no problem with sacrificing the exchange. For that monster bishop on d5, we could probably allow b4. Just take it with the a pawn and have a monster bishop and a good pawn down the exchange. We'd probably be better. So in other words, I could play king g2, allow b4, play ab, sack the exchange with bishop takes, and check out the evaluation with the engine here. Stockfish is not buying it as better for white. He says it's equal. Not. We're up to 0.1 advantage for white. So this is like a classic positional exchange sacrifice. You could even consider that for white. Okay, but it's not necessary. The bishop is actually quite badly placed on a6. Black is thrashing around like a shark. Rook e3, bishop c6, I'm sorry, 8. But white needs a plan how to make progress, and it does look a little tricky. How can you make progress here for white? Not easy to do. Rook e2, queen d7, queen e3, queen h3, queen f2, bishop a6. That's not a good square. And now white made progress because now look, we're stacked up on d6. If we could trade queens, we could see black's king approaching the center with king e7. But as long as the queens are on the board, he can't really do that. Bishop c8, bishop b3. I don't know. That looks good. Queen d7, very awkward for black. Wow. And now blue-eyed albino played the best move according to the engine, f4. Very dramatic turn of events. Opening up his own king, but creating pressure down the f-file. So he goes for it here, and a good move according to the computer. Queen e7, black's defended really well. You would expect f5, of course, but it's a commitment. You know, I don't know. If you play f5, black can take it and then blockade. I mean, I wouldn't think this would be clear. I would just take it and like play f6. There are some problems with the h5 pawn, but I was assuming it could be protected. I guess it can't. Well, you could play king h6. I mean, is this definitely a tragedy? I don't see a win for white. No. But eventually, you don't want to see bishop coming to e2 or something. Then it's really over. But it's really, really starting to creak, as Mark Hebden would say. The British say these things like, your position's starting to creak. Queen e7, queen e3, it's like a boat. Treating chess positions as boats. Queen e3, rook e8, f5, he finally breaks. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. He sacks a pawn here. Well, not really. He's just getting that one. Okay, so it's a trade. Black's hanging on yet. It's like watching Magnus versus Caruana. So 3 pawns, 5 pawns each. The black king's still relatively safe. Crazy game. I mean, why play f6 for black here? I mean, why do you voluntarily want to do that? That's a little strange for me. The engine agrees, though. All right, f6, a4. This was, I assume this was, now I'm assuming this was an over-the-board game, but who knows, you know. Maybe this was an online game. He didn't specify, right, in the description of the game, did he? He just says young and inexperienced in time pressure. Opponent was much older and his elo was around 2200 plus. So when you say the age of the opponent, that's when I assume that it's a live game, right? I mean, you wouldn't know the age of your opponent if this was an online game. So we get to this position here. f6, a4. Okay, so white plays a4 and black just ignores that. I mean, he played f6 clearly for a reason, but white plays a4. And, you know, like bishop f7 appears to just ignore the move a4. I don't understand, you know. Why would you ignore the move a4? Feels like black has to... Well, he can't take. That's brutal. Wow. Like pawn takes a4, bishop takes a4. We're playing rook d7 with a winning position. Okay, so let's say a6. That's also good. We just drop a pawn. That's really crazy. So there's like no way to defend b5? Can we go back to f6 and not play f6, please? I didn't like that move. Stockfish is claiming f6. Why the heck do we have to play f6? Come on now. There's no way I was playing f6 here. I don't care what you do, but it's not going to be f6. It immediately loses. a4, best move according to the computer. Bishop f7. He just loses a pawn. Just that's it, pawn down. So I think this is just, you know, technical pawn up, heavy piece ending. Very good chances to win. You have 3-against-1 majority on the queen side. Black with some counter chances. With 3-against-2 majority on the king side. But white controls the only open file. I mean, I can't say this is winning, but I mean, it's like clear advantage, almost winning. Probably should be winning with good technique. Queen e4, rook c4. Here, queen g6. So trading queens reduces danger, and black's king is actually, man, black's king is actually going to be a very important player in the endgame. White's king is more passive. So can you avoid the exchange of queens? It looks like not. You know, maybe that's where white slipped here. You know, queen e4. Trying to find a way to play without trading queens was very difficult to do. The rook g2 with the idea of g4. I mean, I'm not convinced by this. Leaving the open file. It doesn't look like he could have improved, really. I mean, this was totally reasonable. But this rook endgame is a rook endgame. You know what they say about rook endgames, guys? Do you know what they say about rook endgames? Does anybody know? Any of our viewers? Can you tell me? Trivia question for the day. What do they say about rook endgames? Does anyone know? JCS, you're not allowed to answer. Sit down, put your hand down. I'm not calling on you. Can somebody tell me what they say about rook endgames? Rook endgames with good king against better king. Alright, we're not getting any answers. You have 2 b pawns. I mean, one thing, white could play b6 straight up here. You know, I mean, that move is viable. What they say about rook endgames, yeah, JCS is not allowed to answer. All rook endgames are draws, or drawn. Asterbait, good job, man. Asterbait got it. He got it. Good job, man. All rook endgames are drawn. That's the saying. The percentage of pawn down positions, you know, among endgames, let's say, is probably highest. The draws are highest. The ratio of draws in pawn down endgames is probably highest in rook endgames. Rook endgames and queen endgames. Rook f2. I mean, maybe white could have played b6. at least theoretically, that's a good step, I think. You know, undoubling your pawns. But I'm not sure there's anything wrong with rook f2. He forces black on defensive here. He played b6. He basically played perfectly. A b6, rook b6. So we now have a tactical endgame where blue-eyed albino may or may not be winning, you know. I'm not enough of an expert to say. It looks like very good chances. I mean, 2 connected passed pawns against 1 passed pawn. One thing I'm pretty certain about, I mean, if it were just 1 rook on the board, our chances to win would be even better. Will black's king, active king, you know, kind of mitigate? Wow, he played rook c6. This is the #1 move according to the chess engine. I'm not even sure I understand what rook c6 does. I guess he's going to play c4, and that would enable the b pawn to move. What you want to do is be able to advance your pawns together. But the thing is, blue-eyed albino here has to negotiate like keeping his king safe from counterplay. You can't play like b4 because of rook e3, I guess. You know, this is clearly, I mean, you could drop your g-pawn if you want to, but I don't think it's like really a good idea. So that's the point. He plays rook c6. He's sort of defending against rook e3, enabling b4 and c4. And so black plays e4. Well, I mean, I'm just not enough of an expert. I'm not like Karsten Mueller or something to declare if this is a win for white or not. I don't know. But b4 does look good. It's like b4 with the idea of e3, rook b2. b4, e3, rook b2, I would think. Loses by force. Okay, that's good. Wow. It loses by force. Black wins after rook d7. That is totally frightening. Black wins because of the threat of rook d2 check. Oh my god. Wow. So, okay, the safest move looks like rook e6. That's what I would play. That's what he played. Okay, I agree with this. This keeps the rook behind the pawn. Rook e6, king g7. That's good. He moved his king away to a less active position. So we made progress. And now c4. But check out the evaluation of Stockfish. It was going down there. Now it's coming back up. We played c4. There's also b4. Both kings are inactive here. I'm scared of e3. Because if e3, rook moves, rook check, and take the pawn on b2. So therefore b4, maybe. But if you play b4, then your c-pawn becomes a target. This is amazingly difficult. Amazingly difficult. The engine is claiming now rook f5. This is not easy. I don't think this is clearly a win. You know, white is better, but you need like John Nunn or Karsten Mueller to tell you if this is a winning position for white. Like some kind of, literally some kind of endgame expert. Very technical position. c4 looks good, relatively good. Rook d7. Wow. Rook d7 sacrificing the pawn on f6. My god. That is not what I expected. I mean, rook b7 makes more sense, because on rook b7, you've got like rook takes f6, rook takes b2, right? Or it doesn't work. Yeah, it should work. If we could simplify, maybe, you know, clarify the situation a little bit more. But, wow, rook here. Rook takes f6, rook check, rook f2, and now e3. e3, rook takes e3. Okay, that's a nice trap. If e3, rook takes e3, wins a pawn. So white winning. Wow. Black was probably banking on e3 and then just suddenly realized that the rook takes e3 wins for white, you know. So it looks like rook d7 was a tragic mistake. He should have played rook b7. Similar idea of rook takes f6, rook takes b2. rook f2, and then rook e2. Rook takes e2, rook takes e2, king h3. Where do we go? King f1, rook c2, rook e3. Rook c2, rook takes e4. I would assume this is a win for white. That looks like a win to me. King f6, g4. H takes g4, rook takes g4. Winning position, I think. Nope, I'm wrong. The black king is so good that it's not. Man, if our king was on f3, it would probably be a win. But it's not here. So what do you do? There's no g4. Apparently he can play king g1, king f5, rook f4 check, or rook d4. I'm not sure this is easy to win, though. This is still not even in table base. I have no idea. The white king is cut off. It's a huge problem. I kind of doubt white can win this because his king is cut off. And I think that's the point. You know, the king being cut off, you just can't win. You're going to have to drop a pawn. In order to free your king, you're literally going to have to lose a pawn. And then it would be like a theoretical draw. So that probably saves the game for black. But he played rook d7, which is a blunder. Maybe missing e3, I don't know. And I played this. Rook e7 check, king there, rook to c2. Okay, so well, obviously white has no risk of losing here, but can he win? Okay, first of all, we should play rook e6 check. Okay, we should go back to this position and then try to make progress from here. The black king is pushed back to the 7th rank. That's got to be a good thing. But how can we win this? Can we win this? I don't know. Two pawns down, but black is obviously threatening rook here. I mean, rook e3 is pretty hard to deal with. You know, I mean, what are you going to do about this? The only hope is the queenside tandem of pawns, and I don't know. I just don't know. Let's see what the engine says. It's not making any progress. It's something like rook e5, it looks like. Let's go with rook e5, okay? And suddenly, like, this is not the problem. It's a new problem. e3. Rook g5 check, king h6, rook f6 check, king h7. Man, I don't know. Rook f7 check, king h6. So how do we win here with white? Rook f5 threatening mate? You gotta love that. Rook f5 threatening mate. I love that. Oh no. Rook d2 check, king h3 mate, rook h1, king f3, rook f2 check, king e4. Rook takes f5. Rook takes f5. e2, rook f2. That looks like a winning position to me. If you could reach that position, it would be winning. King e4. And now what? Black has some crazy move. King g6. This is absolutely crazy. Rook f4. Essentially like putting black into Zugzwang in a rook endgame. It's rook endgame Zugzwang. Very strange. That's awesome. So that's computer. You need a computer to win this. Sadly, Blue-Eyed Albino blundered with rook c2, and after e3, he's now suddenly maybe lost because this passed pawn is so strong. Shocking threat of rook d2. King f3, rook d2. Rook c3, and then rook f2 check. A blunder by black. Apparently e2. Probably mutual time pressure. Black was like winning with e2. So both sides just lost in the last couple of moves. Rook f2 check, and now it's supposedly a draw according to the engine. Albino was actually lost. King d4, now he's lost again. So he has to find a perfect move here. Wow. He missed it. Rook f3 would set up perpetuals. You put the rook on f3, and then you're threatening check, 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 check with the rook along the e file. But to find this move, say if he's in time pressure, would be difficult. Yeah. That move saves the game, but it's the only move. Rook f3. Sadly, he played this, allowing check, king c5. He tries to go active with his two pawns, sack a rook, but it looks pretty difficult. You know, if it was like king and two pawns, it'd still probably be lost. If it was just only a single rook on the board, I'm saying, against the pawns, it would still probably be lost because black's winning the g pawn. Yeah, I mean, b3 is never going to survive. You've got to try b4 and move your pawns, but I doubt it. He just needs more. He needs more endgame experience. Sadly, black is just totally winning now. It's over. Tragic loss. Tragic loss for white. Anyway, guys, interesting game. It was worthy of study. Tragic loss for Blue Albino. Thanks everybody for joining me for the subscriber stream. Don't forget, tomorrow is Funky Friday. When we're doing Fast Friday, it's going to be 5+3 Blitz with all challengers, not just subscribers. 5+3 Blitz, 12 o'clock, noon Eastern Time. Tomorrow here on lichess. Thanks for joining me with the Ponda crew. Goodbye, guys. So we're going to be back tomorrow. It's been a long session. I appreciated the interesting games. I'd like to thank JCS for moderating today. And also for our support that we've received from the viewers as far as donations. Nils today, donating 910 bits. Dim up to 900. Asterbait, thanks for your trivia question answer. Good job. And I'd just like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And I will see you tomorrow. So it's going to be Friday at 12 noon with Fast Friday 5+3 Blitz. Eat and be merry. I'm going to get my turkey dinner on. I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys later. I'm not going to eat any wild turkeys, and I'm going to go in the attic and catch me some dinner. I will see you guys later. Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.